Now on CoastTV News.
Meeting in the middle, a plan that would lower short-term residential or rental taxes and raise hotel taxes so they even out in Fenwick Island.
As Paul says, don't let the sunshine fool you. There's smoke in the air.
And fire finance is why a report to the county is recommending officials have more oversight.
And right now we're exercising oversight over our future smoke models, indicating we may be coughing and hacking a couple of more days.
This is CoastTV News at 5.
Smoky haze coming from wildfires up in Canada. Good evening. I'm Madeline Overturf.
And I'm Charlie Sakaitis. Welcome to our News at 5. We begin tonight with all eyes on the sky.
Let's go ahead and look outside into Lewis now as we turn it over to our first alert chief meteorologist Paul Williams on our forecast. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. So here's a latest look at our latest modeling of what's been going on now. By 6:30, understand this is a very color-coded type of a model. So we're yellow, we're in the middle, but when you start getting into the oranges and possibly the reds, that's when you have difficulty as far as it's concerned. And this is where we're located. Now, by the time we get to, let's say, the midnight hour, we're still covered completely by the entire area. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, we're still looking at the beach area to be covered and affected by this, but the things begin to get a little bit better for us as we go into Thursday, but then another round is coming out of the south. We're at moderate levels. This has actually just been updated. We now have moderate levels over towards the Cambridge area, so the air quality has actually gone down a bit there. We're still in the green in a lot of other areas, but moderate for today at a level of 84. Now, those with serious lung problems have to avoid the afternoon air for today. Tomorrow, it's going to get a little bit better. We'll be at a 777. Improving conditions are expected. Now, just in case you were wondering, the total scale is from 1 to 500. 51 to 100 is moderate. 101 to 150 is unhealthy. And so when we start getting unhealthy, that's when we start getting into the orange levels and all that kind of stuff. We start getting more color coded. And as you take a look at what's happening, officially we have no advisories in our immediate area, but look, just to our north right here, this is where we actually have some active air quality concerns in and around the Philadelphia area with high pressure system in control of our weather with the higher temperatures in the 80s that could exacerbate the problem. But fortunately, we're looking at upper level winds that'll begin to kind of mix and push this out of the way. This evening, listen, we're going to stay mainly clear and the winds are pushing out of the south. Temperatures will settle into the 60s under mostly clear skies. Coming up, we're going to be talking about not only that, but guess what, Charlie? Now the UV index is going to be the big concern for the next few days in a row.
To it, Paul. A months-long report into Sussex County Fire Service was presented to council today, done by a consulting firm. The report looked at how departments spend their money and how financial conditions varied widely. CoastTV News reporter Emma Aiken is live in Lewis. Emma, the report recommended more county oversight.
Charlie, I have a few pages here of the 542-page report that was presented today, and Lewis was one of the fire departments mentioned here. And in it, it says that fire companies are well led, but not as a system. And one of the recommendations is that Sussex County impose a tax. This would be a fire service fee that is allowed by state law. In the financial review, consultants recommended the county and fire departments create a strategic plan for the future of the fire service and put, quote, more rigorous purchasing policies in place. Another suggestion, this fire service fee, this would put a burden on taxpayers, but some locals we spoke with say they understand.
I think it's a very important service that I would be willing to pay for. You know, it would be nice to have that peace of mind and know that our police and EMS services are well funded so that they can supply us the services that we need if and when we need them.
If the county chose to impose a fire service fee as allowed by state law, it's not clear right now how much that would be, but the consultants say the money should go to the fire departments where it's generated, so more populated areas would in turn make more money. Reporting live in Lewis, Emma Aiken, CoastTV News.
This brings us to our CoastTV poll. We want to know, do you feel confident in your area's fire department?
Let's take a look at the results so far. 58% say very confident, 21% say somewhat, 21% say not, 0% at the moment are unsure.
We'll see if these numbers change throughout the evening. If you haven't voted, you can still do that. You can also leave a comment at coasttvnews.com or use the mobile app.
New tonight, ICE made an arrest in Georgetown. Georgetown police say the immigration agency notified them Tuesday, June 3rd, about a fugitive with a criminal warrant. Now, local officers weren't involved, and police say the arrest happened without any trouble. Georgetown police say specific details, though, cannot be disclosed at this time. We do have a bit more for you, though, right now on CoastTV.com.
And we're learning more about how in less than a week a second gun has been found in a Milford school. A 13-year-old student at Milford Central Academy was arrested Monday after he was found with an unloaded handgun on school grounds. Now that's according to the Milford Police Department. They say this happened June 2nd during the school day. Another student reported a photo of the boy displaying what appeared to be a gun. The school contacted the school resource officer. Police say the gun was unloaded and the student did not have any ammunition. Police say the student was released to a parent and has a pending court date. And we have articles on both incidents that are right now up on CoastTV.com. Progress
continues in the efforts to cut down on pollutants flowing into the Chesapeake Bay. It showed that nitrogen entering the bay dropped about 15%. Phosphorus fell by nearly 22%, and there was a 7.5% decrease in sediment.
Just days after he left the government, Elon Musk slamming President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, calling it a, quote, abomination. NBC's Julie Sirkin shows us how some Republicans are also unhappy with it, and as the president battles his party over his new budget, his new tariffs go into effect in just hours.
In less than 24 hours before new tariffs take effect, President Trump is selling his trade policy to the public, claiming on his social media platform, because of tariffs, our economy is booming, and arguing the U.S. needs to be able to counter other countries' tariffs or, quote, our country doesn't have even a small chance of economic survival. On Wednesday, a 50% tariff on all foreign-made steel and aluminum goes into effect. Those products touch just about every aspect of American life, including cars, home appliances, furniture, and tools, not to mention canned goods.
The tariff agenda of this president, he believes very strongly in it.
And while the Trump team negotiates tariffs on the international stage, the president facing another battle here at home with his own party. Some lawmakers say the partisan spending package, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, spends too much to fund Trump's agenda.
I can't in good conscience give up every principle that I stand for and every principle that I was elected upon, and that's that we can't accumulate more debt.
The bill extends tax cuts, boosts spending on defense and border security, and includes cuts to Medicaid and food aid programs. President Trump today targeting Rand Paul after he targeted the bill, writing the Kentucky senator has very little understanding of how it works. Also today, former special government employee and Trump ally Elon Musk writing on X, quote, this massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. The White House pushing back.
Look, the president already knows where Elon Musk stood on this bill. It doesn't change the president's opinion. This is one big, beautiful bill, and he's sticking to it.
Here on Capitol Hill, Democrats are united in opposition to the bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer even saying that he's agreeing with Elon Musk's assessment. Certainly rare for him to be saying that. And Schumer is warning Republicans not to buy into what he calls Trump's snake oil pitch. In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Talking trash, what Wicomico County wants to do.
And as the temperatures reach into the 80s, we're going to start simmering like summertime in a couple of days, but here's where we stand over the next 12 hours.
That's why you may have to pay more for an Airbnb in Fenwick Island. That's up next.
This is Coast TV News at 5.
Another hot and sunny day bringing vacationers to the beach.
But Airbnbs in Fenwick Island might be more expensive this year.
Coast TV News reporter Kevin Zapay is live in Fenwick Island. Kevin, these tax increases could raise up prices.
Guys, last summer, Airbnbs in Fenwick Island only had to pay an 8% tax to the town, but now the state wants their fair share. And owners are now going to have to pay a 12.5% tax altogether. The Fenwick Island Budget and Finance Committee discussed changing the current rental taxes in town. It's a reaction to the newly issued state tax of 4.5% on all residential communities renting their homes in Delaware starting this year. With this change, Airbnbs are now paying a 12.5% tax when combined with the Fenwick tax, while hotels only pay an 11.5% tax. One local fears beachgoers might start looking elsewhere if room and board rise up in price.
More people are going to be interested in finding a good deal for their vacations, and I think that an increase of this kind of magnitude is probably going to make people consider other locations as well.
The Fenwick Island Council will discuss this proposal on June 27th. I'm Kevin Zappe, live in Fenwick Island, CoastTV News.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. We're looking for temperatures in the 80s across the board. Clear on Wednesday, a few more clouds on Thursday. Friday, a bit more in the way of the muggy side of things. And Saturday, well, now that's a surprise, which we'll have in your full forecast coming up. I don't want it to come off as if, sunshine is a problem, but we are going to be heating up rather quickly, and the fires that's happening in Canada, mixing the upper atmosphere, all of these things are just getting a little bit close for concern. No danger or anything like that, but we always like to give you a heads up early on before things become a problem. Now, our dry tech camera in Ocean City, we're at 71 degrees. Dew point temperature in the 60s, so we're getting a little more moisture in the atmosphere. But we will stay clear throughout the rest of the night. And as the sun goes down in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll stay mainly clear with temperatures staying in the 60s. Now, we did warm to 82 degrees at our official site in Georgetown. We warmed to 81 in Ocean City and Salisbury, Easton, and 79 for the high, Cambridge. Now, this is the latest update on the air quality index. Green, everything's all good. Moderate, that's when we start keeping a close eye on what's happening. And this is actually over towards the Cambridge area on the other side of the Delmarva Peninsula. But we're still green in most areas, but except right up here in Philadelphia, we're starting to pick up a little bit of yellow as well. Now, that's because there's an air quality alert up towards the Lancaster, say it correctly, Lancaster and Philadelphia area up there towards New York, just north of our area. But regionally speaking, we're still in the midst of that, although we are not officially under a advisory, and I don't think we're going to, because now we're starting to see a mixing that's happening up the upper atmosphere, especially with a high pressure system off the coast. The clockwise rotation is bringing that moisture out of the south, and that's going to help kind of mix things out. It's kind of like when you burn something in the kitchen, which I do often, and you open up the door and let the air rush out so you can diffuse the smoke. Well, here's a look at the smoke. By 10:30, we're still going to have this plume of smoke that's going to stay pretty dominant across the Delmarva Peninsula. Now, you'll notice we start seeing it edging out of the way by the time we get to Wednesday, and much better, or low smoke, much better air quality is going to kick in. But here's the last part. You notice how this begins to swing up this bottom half with additional problems going back to the orange. That's going to swing back on top of us. So we've got to continue to monitor this on a pretty consistent basis. Even warmer for tomorrow, 86 for the high in Georgetown. Winds out of the south-southwest at 5 to 10 for Cambridge and 82 degrees. And we will warm to 82 degrees in Berlin, Snow Hill, and Pocomoke City. Now, the temperature trend becomes very interesting because you'll notice our average low is 60. We're going to have that above board, and our average high is about 79. So we're going to have temperatures that are going to start inching its way a little bit higher than the norm. And as you take a look at what's happening in the upper atmosphere and along the surface, we're looking at temperatures approaching the 60-degree mark to start it off, mid-80s by the afternoon. Thursday, cloud cover starts to slowly creep into the picture. And then we start having temperatures in the mid to upper 80s then as well, with more moisture kicking in. As far as the most southern portion of our viewing area, we pick up on Thursday where the cloud cover begins to be a thick forest across Newark as well as Snow Hill, Salisbury area. And we see breaks in the sunshine, in the cloud cover, pardon me, out of the south where the winds blow, and then we'll stay in the 80s for that. Now, with the last concern, we have the UV index updated. We're going to be at 9. We're going to be at a very high level for the next few days in a row. So now we're looking at sunscreen, midday shade, limit your exposure outdoors, and avoid being outside between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is just a couple of steps below extreme. And this is early in the season, folks. We got a long way to go for the rest of the summertime, so let's please be mindful of that. Tonight, 58 degrees. Tomorrow, all day sunshine and 86. Tomorrow, a beautiful start, but a bit of a cloudy finish, but still in the 80s. Finally, here's a look at your extended forecast.
Thank you so much. Trash may soon take a greater financial toll for some in Wicomico County. The county solid waste division wants to increase rates for commercial haulers to manage the landfill. They propose raising the tipping fee from $78 per ton to $84 per ton on July 1st, followed by another $4 increase in the new year. Now, we did speak with a local hauler who says it's just kind of happening too fast.
They're trying to catch things back up and have workable equipment, and we agree with all of that. generally. The problem is they're trying to catch us all up within a year or two, and it's too short of a time frame. This is the second year in a row that they've proposed increases to start with only a few weeks' notice given to trash haulers.
Now, Andrew said the proposal would be a big disruptor for disposal companies like his. That's because most of his clients, he says, have already paid for July and many for the remainder of the year.
Coming up, you will not believe what this woman is pointing at in her home.
Kind of crazy story here. Space trash, potentially from SpaceX and the 9th Starship launch. It's washing up on a beach south of the border near Texas. Follow me on this. During last week's launch, the super heavy rocket boosters successfully separated from the spacecraft but fell into the ocean, and then SpaceX lost control of the Starship mid-flight, and they don't know exactly where it ended up. Since then, locals say millions of pieces, big and small, some with the SpaceX logo, have been washing up on shore.
It's one thing to love cats. I hope mine are watching from home, but this next story is scary. Take a look at this video out of Colorado. A family that was at their home when they realized they had an uninvited guest, a bobcat, up in a shelf in their living room. They called the sheriff's office. A deputy came and got some of the interaction on his body cam, tried to get the animal with a green laser because, you know, cats love playing with lasers. Bobcat was unimpressed, but eventually did leave the home on its own, leaving out the back door.
And that's not the only animal making our newscast this evening. What's black and white and red all over the internet? This runaway zebra in Tennessee. It's become an internet sensation. Ed has been on the run and on the net in the way of memes and posts aplenty. Ed has been on the run for days after escaping from its owners, busting out only hours after they got him. Authorities are trying to track down the zebra using several groups, but it's not been successful to capture that runaway zebra and return him home. Let's take one more look at our Coast TV poll. Back locally, we're asking if you feel confident in your area's fire department. 60% say very confident, 16% say somewhat confident, and 24% say not confident. Those have changed a little bit since we ran the poll about 20 minutes ago. If you'd like to vote, we will have updated results on Coast TV News at 6. Let's take one more look into Ocean City, a check on our forecast after this.
Coming up new on Coast TV News at 6, 2 homes destroyed by separate fires in Milton early Tuesday morning. What we know about the investigation thus far, that and more new at 6.
Take a look at our tunnel and razor camera at 80 degrees in Lewis. We'll drop down to 72 as soon as the sun goes down, and we'll have mainly clear skies. We don't have any advisories here, but we do have air quality concerns just to our north. Steve of Ocean View, congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration. That's your umbrella winner. Keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line, sponsored by the law offices of Brockstead, Mandela's, and Federico. And finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. We're going to wait until Saturday till we start talking rain.
Okay, Paul, thank you, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 5.
For more news, more local weather, download our Coast TV News app.
Inside Edition is up next.
And we're going to see you later tonight for Coast TV News at 6. Have a great evening.